15 convictions, 6 children, and an unfaithful wife who left him for another artilleryman. This is the story of the occupier Alexander, who was captured by our soldiers. He was taken into Putin's army straight from prison despite having mental disorders and being HIV positive. Another liberator, Mykola, instead of going to prison for drunk driving, signed a contract which he now supposedly regrets. Both occupiers complain about their commanders, who send them on meat grinder assaults, and they are shocked. Across Ukrainian fields, which are all covered with the bodies of dead and wounded Russians. I
can't find my place in this world.
And now do you think you have?
Not really.
Alexander's story in Ukraine is ordinary. He was raised in an orphanage, has 15 convictions, 6 children, and serious illnesses. And on top of that, his wife left him for a veteran of the so-called special military operation.
The man came back from the special military operation from here. She went to him while I was in prison.
That time, the 36-year-old resident of Saratov region was in prison for theft and assaulting police officers. How much
longer for you?
2.5 years, and for life, I have to see a psychiatrist and a neurologist twice a week. So,
But do you have problems with that?
yes, I am disabled. Second group psychological. And when they took you away,
Did they truly know about your specific medical condition?
they knew. They knew that I was mentally ill. But when they took me through the hospital, the psychiatrist narcologist asked, "Where are you taking him?" He said, "To the special military operation." And she wrote in the report that no violations were found. They also knew perfectly well that I have HIV for 10 years now, and still they take everyone. People with cancer, with severe illnesses, with all kinds of diseases. I got caught under an article at home, and I had to sign a contract, or else I'd go to jail. However, the esteemed court intervened and stopped everything in its tracks, and consequently, they promptly sent me off from the proceedings.
41-year-old Mykola from Stavropol Krai was caught drunk behind the wheel. Now he says he bitterly regrets signing the contract.
Do you regret signing?
Of course.
But the man was lucky. He was immediately taken.
The individual in question has been confirmed as a prisoner held captive by the Azov regiment. This situation implies a complex and potentially dangerous predicament, given the widely recognized involvement of the Azov regiment in ongoing conflicts. The circumstances surrounding their capture and subsequent detention by this particular group are currently under investigation, raising significant concerns about their well-being and future. Well, just to get away from Russia altogether. To get away from Russia, but get away to where? Anywhere I could work and live peacefully. And how did you end up?
In captivity.
I got lost.
So the whole direction. Ours?
Got lost? Yes, both me and my partner too. We weren't going to fight. When we ended up in captivity, they looked at us and said, strange, you don't even have not a single round fired from your rifle."
The occupiers complain that in their army they are treated like garbage, while Ukrainian fields are strewn with the bodies of dead and maimed Russians. And there, the living envy
because they treat their own servicemen with utter disregard for their well-being, as if they were nothing but expendable, insignificant pieces of meat.
How would you describe the state of affairs in the Russian army today?
Honestly, as I see it, they just send us out as cannon fodder just to be thrown into assaults, and that's it. By the time I made it to Sapovka, to Kubini, where I surrendered, so many of our men had died. And there are a lot of wounded lying there. Some have been there for a week, even 2 weeks. They're ready to kill each other just to get some food. Right before my eyes, my acquaintance, his own people just opened fire on him.
Why exactly is that?
I don't know. He was walking, asked them which battalion they were from, and instead of answering, they just opened fire on him. Do you remember that shootout? And they took everyone out.
Weren't you
Afraid of the enemy? Why such a war? You walk there, bodies everywhere, 200, 300 nightmare. Describe
Russia today? In just one word, how exactly would you describe it in your opinion? What
is it? In one word, madness. That's all I can say. They spare neither their own people nor anyone else's. I think if we changed our government,
And how would you change your government?
I don't even know. even standing up against the established authorities and actively doing something significant about it, something entirely different. Perhaps some kind of widespread public riots. I really don't know what else.
Are you ready to stand up?
Me, yes. At the moment, of course, this isn't war.
Currently, investigators and SBU counterintelligence officers are working with the prisoners. Neither of them wants to return. Mykola says that Laden would even injure himself if...
After the exchange, they force you to return to the front again?
I won't go back. I'd rather get a life sentence. I won't go. Let them lock me up instead. And if they try to send me, I've already made my decision. Either I'll injure my leg or my arm myself.
Andriy Pochtiv, Artem Dezenkov, Programovic on STB United News.
At the front, since the beginning of the current day, there have been 78 combat clashes. The highest activity of Russian occupiers is being recorded in the Pokrovsk direction. There, the defense forces successfully repelled 21 attacks. The enemy carried out 13 assaults each in the Hulyapilska and Kostiantynivka directions. Defenders repelled the occupiers 9 times in the Oleksandrivka direction, 7 times in the Lyman direction, and 3 times. They also held back the aggressor in the Sloviansk direction. Active fighting continues in the Zaporizhzhia region, in the Orikhiv and Hulyapole areas. In these directions, the defense forces repelled about 15 assaults. How do the tank crews hold back the enemy onslaught? Of the 65th Brigade? And what role does heavy equipment play in the drone warfare of the soldiers of Veliki Lu? Our correspondents were told.
A large caliber shooter assistant. That's what the T-72 battle tank is called in the 65th Mechanized Brigade. They say that even though this is now a war of drones and modern technologies are advancing rapidly, the simple-to-operate and time-tested armored vehicles are still very much in demand.
A tank is a mobile firepower that is practically unmatched, because nowadays, with the large number of FPV drones, weather conditions can change everything. The course of action and the conduct of battles. That's why the tank remains relevant as the most versatile firepower.
In the Zaporizhzhia direction, tank crews work not only on planned targets, but also join in repelling enemy assaults. Recently, they stopped another enemy attack.
There was an attempt at an assault with a landing party, right in our direction. The weather didn't allow to use drones in the quantity needed, so the decision was made to switch to direct fire, and our guys did their job. They managed to strike.
Operating a tank, the driver mechanic with the call sign Sheriff learned back during his conscript service. 3 decades later, the 51-year-old resident of Lviv region had to recall the skills he had acquired and return to service. For the 4th year in a row, he has been defending Ukraine, and he says the T-72 is unpretentious. But like all equipment, it requires careful maintenance.
Before every trip, you have to inspect it thoroughly, check everything to make sure there are no leaks. The most important thing is that there are no leaks and that the vehicle is in working order. When you're driving, you can feel that it's in good condition.
Despite its considerable age, the T-72 has never once let the soldiers down. The crew jokingly calls the combat vehicle the baby.
Mine is quite small, but it's very quick.
The serviceman also started his career as a driver mechanic. His call sign is Marek. He worked on the tank back during the ATO days. He returned to the front for the 2nd time when the full-scale invasion began. He recalls coming home from abroad only to find a draft notice already waiting for him. Now he is the tank commander and coordinates the work of the entire crew.
We cover the infantry. Whenever there's an advance somewhere, we go out and do our job, making the most of our strengths. It's really good in the mud, and it's great to work with. Honestly, there's nothing bad you can say about it.
Ukrainian tanks and other heavy equipment are a top priority target for the enemy. Russian drones are hunting for them. The most troublesome are the fiber optic copters.
At present, I can only note the increased use of fiber optic drones. This is a weapon that it existed a year ago, but not like this. Now it's being used on a massive scale. In recent months, we've seen an increase.
Despite the deadly danger and all the difficulties, the tank crews diligently do their job. You can support the warriors of Veliki Lo using the details shown on the screen. The 65th Brigade is also waiting for reinforcements.
We want everything to be good for us, for Ukraine to exist, and not for the Russians to come in.
Inna Hohoi, Ihor Vorobi, Podrobici, Inter TV Channel Marathon United News.
In the Zaporizhzhia region, near Huliaipol, the 33rd Separate Assault Regiment is holding the line. There are dozens of clashes there every day. The artillerymen are working under extremely difficult conditions. The sky above them is filled with enemy drones. The fighters are in dire need of anti-drone cloaks. These reduce thermal visibility and give them a chance to remain invisible to enemy eyes. They also need vehicle repairs and maintenance, without which it's impossible to deliver ammunition or change positions. Please join the fundraising campaign for the 33rd Assault Regiment. The QR code and card number are on the screen. Every hryvnia is a contribution to the safety of those who defend our country.
We are the artillerymen of the 33rd Separate Assault Regiment. We wish you good health and faith in our shared victory over the enemy. We strike them mercilessly and ask for your help in this good and righteous cause. 50 anti-thermal camouflage cloaks have been purchased, as well as vehicle repairs. For the safe and undetectable firing by our artillerymen, your donation will help us stay protected from enemy reconnaissance at our firing positions and continue doing our job. The QR code and card number are on the screen. We ask you to contribute and we guarantee the results. Glory to Ukraine.
Glory to the heroes.
More than 80 battle flags from combat units of the ground forces have become part of the War Museum's collection. The banners were brought to Kiev from various fronts from the hottest spots. Each flag bears the insignia of the brigades as well as the names and signatures of the soldiers defending Ukraine. The museum staff will preserve the history of each symbol for future generations.
This is important. The flags of resilience are a history we have no right to forget. And on many of the flags you can see the names of settlements, the surnames of servicemen, and unfortunately, some of them are no longer with us. And these revered flags hold a profoundly special symbolism for the brave units. They are a poignant memory of our fallen comrades, a solemn memory of those incredibly fierce and arduous battles fought valiantly for our cherished independence, for our fundamental freedom. Today, with immense honor, I want to formally entrust this esteemed museum with the crucial responsibility of meticulously preserving this invaluable memory for all future generations to come.
Unfortunately, there was a time when we were a stateless nation. Over a century of our struggle, only unique relics have survived, so few that you could count them on the fingers of one hand. Throughout the entire Cossack era, in the Museum Fund of Ukraine, in its state-owned part, which consists of about 14 million items, only 5 Cossack flags are preserved in storage, the 17th to 18th centuries. Today, another 84 items have been added. We are not just assembling a collection of flags, we are focusing our attention on a period of history that, I am deeply convinced, will bring our people glory and immortality.
A Russian victory in Ukraine would be a defeat for the entire West, warns Czech President Petr Pavel. In an interview with the Sunday Times, the Czech leader drew a parallel between the current situation and the policy of appeasing Hitler on the eve of World War II. Back then, the West abandoned Czechoslovakia by signing the Munich Agreement. Now there are similar dangerous signals about secret negotiations concerning Ukrainian territories. Pavel, who was a general before becoming president, points out that Putin is copying a Nazi tactic, allegedly protecting compatriots abroad. The Czech leader is demanding a more decisive response from NATO to violations of its own airspace, up to and including shooting down Russian planes and drones. Fires in Russia. The 9th attack on the Ryazan Oil Refinery since the beginning of the year. Dozens of drones shot down over central regions, according to the Russian Ministry of Defense, damaged infrastructure in Voronezh, a strike on Russian logistics at sea. Sofia Zhelinska will report on the new strikes on the territory of the aggressor country this week. In
Ryazan, powerful explosions were heard again. The regional governor claimed that debris allegedly fell and there were small fires but no casualties. However, according to Russian social media channels, drones struck the Ryazan Oil Refinery, one of the largest oil refining enterprises in Russia. According to analysts, UAVs struck one of the plant's key nodes, the unit that purifies and upgrades gasoline. It is there that cheap fuel is transformed into higher quality usable fuel. For example, for aviation. Without this unit, the plant operates much more slowly and cannot produce fuel of the required quality. And this is already the 9th attack on this oil refinery since the beginning of 2025. The previous one was on November 15th. The enterprise produces 17.1 million tons of oil annually, including 840,000 tons of aviation gas, which is key for supplying Russia's aerospace forces. It was loud not only in Ryazan. In the suburbs of Voronezh, the governor reported infrastructure damage caused by falling drone debris.
A power line was damaged when the debris fell.
The day before, Russia also recorded attacks by unidentified drones in 2 regions at once. Explosions were heard in Temryuk in the Krasnodar region. The local seaport came under attack. An hour after that, there was another report of an attack, this time on the Syzran Oil Refinery in the Samara region. The Russian Ministry of Defense, as always, claimed to have successfully repelled a massive attack. This time, they allegedly shot down 116 Ukrainian drones over 10 regions, and the most, specifically 29, in the Ryazan region.
It will become here on the tree.
While attacks by drones are happening all over Russia, things are also tense at sea. The sanctioned Russian tanker Kairos, which was likely hit by Ukrainian naval drones in the Black Sea last week, ran aground near the Bulgarian town of Artapol. At first, the crew did not respond to communications. Later, Bulgarian rescue services dispatched a boat and a helicopter to the vessel. However, the operation had to be suspended due to the storm. The waves reached 4 on the Beaufort scale.